So now we're going to go into our, as he said, our last upper lower body split before we get a little bit more tailored and a little bit more targeted to the individual. By this point, if they've been really consistent and sticking to this and pushing hard, and eating well, they should have built a decent amount of muscle, and we should be starting to see where maybe not their genetic potential is, but certainly getting to the point to show where their biggest weaknesses are. We've built a base layer of muscle. And then after this phase now, we can start looking at the end of this block and going, right, what's your weakest body part? What's your strongest body part? Because you're only as big as your smallest body part, right? My back is always over dominant compared to my triceps. My triceps make my back look smaller. My back does not make my tricep look bigger. So we are now starting going into year 2 going, well, if I'm going to put 3-4 kilos of muscle on somebody, if I can put 2.5 of those on their smaller body parts, it'll look like they've gained 5-6 kilos because of that overall balance. So now moving into this day 1, we're now going into a lot of, and let me just bring these in here so you can see. We're now going to be moving into a lot of the same exercises from not the last upper lower, but the first upper lower program, because we don't want to just chop and change exercises for the sake of changing exercises here. A lot of the exercises we're doing are the same because I just want people to get good at that small sample size of exercises. We're going to repeat rotations with a few small differences. And the small differences here are going to be, we're going to add an extra set. So 2 sets, top sets are now 1 set of 12. So 2 top sets of 6, 1 set of 12. We're also going to play around here. And if I open this up, right, with our tempos. So we can see here with the tempo now, we're now starting to have a little bit longer pauses in those bottom positions, right, as we go through this. Now moving on to day 2. Going into this, a similar thing. We're now just playing around with extra pauses in those bottom positions and just making it a little bit harder from that length and range. So play around with these as you go through this. So we can see here, extra pause in this length and range. So this is a much more taxing program than the previous one, despite the fact that the exercises are similar. Moving on to the heavy light system, we're going to still stick with this cross-body split that we did in the EDT program, but now the program looks a little bit different. So we've got our main heavy lift as our first exercise. So let's say 4 sets of 6 of barbell hip thrust, and then we're going to move into a more stable exercise for our light sets. So heavy, light. So we're going through barbell hip thrust, which gets mid to length and range hamstring, and then we're going to go into our short and range hamstring for 15. Same thing here with our shoulder press for 6. Go into our cable lateral raise for 15. And then triceps and our 2 target areas here, which in this example, we've used triceps and abs, but choose whatever tricep target areas you want with your clients. Now here, barbell back squat, we're going to then go into a leg press. So we're going to take a decent rest here to make sure we can still do the back squat. But now we're just going to have that post-exhaust. Same thing with our back exercise, and then biceps and reverse crunches in here. Now, when we move into our strength phase, I said this is a big step up of intensity. The split is still the same, but what you'll notice now is we are doing a 6-4-2 wave load. And we notice that the exercise amount has gone down because we're doing more sets. So with a wave load, we've got 6 sets here, which is 2 waves. So the first set, you do a set of 6, you do a set of 4, you do a set of 2. Then you're going to come back and do another set of squats for 6. You're now going to do the weight you did for the first 4. You're then going to do a set of 4 with the weight you did for the first 2, and then you're going to peak with a top 2. I find that this method for strength really gets the best out of people because not only are we priming the nervous system with the first wave to peak in that second wave, we're also, there's always a positive spin we can do on a set. So if you go, oh my God, that's so many reps, but it's lighter. And then as it gets heavier, oh my God, that looks like a lot of weight, but it's only 2. So we can use that positive spin to get the confidence to lift some of these big lifts. And then our secondary exercises are just things to tag on the end. But now we're getting to the point where you want to get better at squatting, do more squats. So we've got back squat, hamstring curls, and a bit of calves and abs. Then here we've got our bench press, exactly the same thing. Neutral grip chin, and then triceps and biceps. Now moving into our here, 6-4-2 deadlift. Hack squat, because we've done a lot of sets of deadlift, we don't want to fatigue the lower back. So we're going to a very stable machine-based exercise here. The Nordic curl to really sort of develop those hamstrings and work on some of the remedial function of the hamstrings and keeping that pelvis in a good position. Then we've got our pullover to keep the shoulder mobile when we're not doing as many exercises. And then we're now doing a standing military press, progress from the last strength phase. And then we're going to go into a slightly more challenging chin-up variation, incline barbell bench press, and then our Cuban press, just to keep our shoulders healthy. So that is an overview of our last block of the year. As always, if you have any questions, let me know.